Islam wars. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, Islam, yes.
Yeah, you sound good.
Islam. Is everyone who is on the call able to come up on their video? And while everybody's making that adjustment, I'm going to open up this portion of our meeting with a reading of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Salvation, Allah, Unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on the Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God, Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen.
Amen.
Now I'm going to continue in the vein of what this meeting is for, to read from the general laws as well. General laws that were given in the first convention of the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1928, October 15th through 20th. In the general laws, as said by the prophet, the instructions of Tuesday night. You see what happened today, don't you? Every temple, the heads of every temple, are to function by words, deeds, and actions, imitating the prophet, especially when teaching Moors, any group of Moors. These are the general laws. The supreme laws will be handed you tomorrow night. The Supreme Council will be chosen tomorrow, consisting of 7 men, tried and true, accepted by you, according to their words, works, and deeds. The head of all temples are to give an account once a month of all finances into the grand body, and the grand sheik, grand sheikas, governor, and grand governor of any said temple are to work hand in hand and intercede that the prophet is the law. They are to know that they are a part of the law and must obey. The heads of all temples are to by force refrain from all wrath, words, profanity, and the mildest form from his members. They must live the life of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and refrain from all alcoholic liquors or any other harmful things that will terminate to destroy peace, or any other harmful things that will terminate to destroy peace, or any other of the divine principles. They are not to contribute anything that will cause the public to disagree with he or she. If there are children, you must see to their support. Follow this principle. For if you don't restrict to this great divine principle, then you are not a true Moor. And the heads are not to charge for membership, or to overcharge for cards, buttons, or for anything issued by the prophet. I have heard of many who charge for membership. Those are not Moors, but robbers. Membership, sisters and brothers, is free, not here, but all over the world. The button is 25 cents, the card is 25 cents, and 1 month dues is paid. Every member pays 50 cents a month dues. This money goes towards the support of the temple. This, if not paid, does not entitle you to the protection provided for you, and especially so if you are in working condition. If you refuse to carry out the duty assigned you, how can you expect money and help when you are sick? Think this over, Moors. All sheiks, grand sheiks, must prepare for the prophet before he comes to visit, must see to it that all is clean and perfect, or else don't send for him. All members should pay from 25 to 50 cents weekly toward the emergency fund. This fund will work up to $1,000 before you know it. That is, if you are loyal Moors. The emergency fund goes into the bank. The treasurer and trustee will tend to that responsibility. Put it in the bank, yes, and under the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Finance. When needed, act according to law pertaining to the procedure of performing an emergency act. No head of any said temple is to borrow from any other member more than from $5 to $10 unless by notification of grand body or the prophet the necessity for the loan. The heads of all temples must conform to these laws and action in the guidance of any said group or temple. When any said temple desires to purchase property, trustees and the board must be notified, and it must be purchased under the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No individual name should be applied. I, Noble Drew Ali, is responsible for all purchases of land, buildings, etc. Let me, the prophet, then know what is on me. Some of you have slipped drastically, so you had better lace up your shoes before I get there. Everything, every business transaction or anything pertaining to finance is done in the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America or Noble Drew Ali. Do you understand what I say? We Moors must maintain a grand treasurer, just as in the days of our forefathers. Then you are a nation. Until then, you are nothing. Furthermore, the emergency fund is issued by no books, but by an emergency card punched according to the contribution, then marked on the book. That is the law, and the law must live. The government is behind me, and I must get behind you. For I must. My mission is to save you, Moors. Just as you saw that man put down $20 last night, so there are men waiting to put down thousands of dollars for the progress of this divine movement. Then I, in turn, use it among the temples, seeing that you are comfortable. I can show many illustrations. I have demonstrated that you can use my money if your heart is right, pure, and just. So this is a New Year's celebration. Turn over a new leaf, you Moors. This is the beginning of new business. The heads of all temples, grand sheiks, grand sheikas, must conform themselves to the divine principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They must live the life among the members and be loved by them as even the prophet is loved. They must not practice the principle of segregation among any group in his or her temple. Would that be a good Moor? Let it be he or she that is head of any temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that there come any grievance, notify the prophet instantly, and do not attempt to quiet among yourselves. All heads of all temples are to constrict and to confirm, are to constrict and confirm to these laws from the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And at this time, I trust to continue reading from the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, by the guidance of his father God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father God Allah. I trust to continue reading from page 3. of the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet, know thyself and thy Father God Allah. The genealogy of Jesus, with the 18 years of the events, life, works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age. These secret lessons are for all of those who love Jesus and desire to know about his life, works, and teachings. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons you can set your house in order, and your children will learn to love instead of to hate. The lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity. As I am a prophet and the servant is worthy of his hire, you can receive this pamphlet at expense. The reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. And when the time appointed by Allah, they loosened the keys and freed these secrets. And for the first time in ages have these secrets been delivered into the hands of the Muslims of America. All authority and rights of publishing of this pamphlet of 1927 by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The industrious acts of the Muslims of Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hammatites, and Canaanites who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In later years, they formed themselves kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. Praise Allah. But I wanted to set the format for this portion of our Sunday public meeting by being governed and guided by the laws of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, specifically the general laws and the divine instruction of setting the house in order. In those general laws, we want to highlight the point of the prophet gave the instruction when any said temple desires to purchase property, trustees and the board must be notified that it must be purchased under the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No individual name should be applied. I, Noble Drew Ali, is responsible for all purchases of land, buildings, etc. Let me, the prophet, then know what is on me. So in this, what we're delving into, we bring the agenda up. All right, so everybody can see this agenda. And I'm going to enlarge it a little bit. For those of us who are a little older and need a larger font size. Yes, here we go. All right. So the first thing that we're going to get into is the timeline of events. All right. So I want to show uh, just a little brief history. And Brother Eastdale or any brother that has it, if you have that letter from the Illinois Secretary of State in response to Braswell Bay trying to assume control of the Civic Corporation by changing the address, please bring that forward. Okay. Because I want to get into that. So here I'm going to show going back to 2005. In 2005, Braswell Bay went to court. I'll bring it up and you all let me know if you when you all can see it. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
All right, make it larger. This is what I call the three fatal flaws. Braswell Bay took David Bailey Ill and Ross Sadi Ill and I believe a group of other Moors to court because of their collecting money in the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Case number 05C1762, Blanche Manning was the sitting judge. Date March 31st, 2005. Three fatal flaws. The first one is The court finds pursuant to 28 U.S.C. Section 19(5)(e)(2)(b) that the complaint fails to establish a basis for federal jurisdiction. The complaint therefore is dismissed without prejudice, and all pending motions are denied as moot. If the plaintiff wishes to file an amended complaint addressing the matters discussed in this order, it may do so by April 25th, 2005. Any amended complaint must be accompanied by the filing fee and explain the basis for federal jurisdiction. In addition, the Moorish Science Temple, number one, may only appear via counsel. Okay, that's the first mistake. They did not establish jurisdiction, and they did not, as a corporation, have counsel. All right, so this is the reason why. Pro se plaintiff, Moorish Temple, number one, seeks leave to proceed in forma pauperis. This court has the power to screen complaints filed by all litigants prior to service, regardless of their fee status, and must dismiss a complaint if it fails to state a claim or the court lacks jurisdiction. And then it gives the citations and the authorities. The complaint is signed by Sheikh Braswell Bey, who does not appear to be a lawyer. He alleges that the three temples named as defendants have breached the Moorish Temple Charter's contractual obligations and breached the fiduciary duty owed by the Grand Sheikh to the Grand Body and members. Because this complaint was filed pro se, the court has pro se, the court has construed it liberally. After careful study of the complaint, however, the court finds that it must be dismissed. First, only individuals, not corporations, may proceed in forma pauperis. Thus, this matter cannot be properly before the court unless the full filing fee is paid. So this says that Braswell Bey placed the Moorish Science Temple of America in the form of a pauper or a poor person, and that the Moorish Science Temple of America could not afford an attorney or a lawyer. Second fatal flaw. Second, Sheikh Braswell Bey has signed the complaint on behalf of the Moorish Science Temple. Number one, corporations and other legal entities must proceed via counsel and thus cannot be represented by a non-attorney. The court must therefore dismiss any complaints which are filed by a non-attorney on behalf of a legal entity or a corporation. Third, and most fundamentally, the complaint does not set forth allegations which show that this court has the power to hear this dispute. The ability to decide a dispute is known as jurisdiction. The issues identified in the complaint arise under state law. The court has the power to adjudicate state law disputes if diversity jurisdiction exists. To satisfy this standard, the complaint must allege that one, the amount in controversy exceeds $75,000 exclusive of costs and interest. Two, the parties are completely diverse, 28 U.S.C. 1332. The complaint does not identify the legal status of the parties, whether they are corporations, partnerships, or contain information about the party's citizenship. The complaint also does not contain allegations that establish that $75,000 or more is at issue. The court therefore cannot ascertain if the jurisdictional amount has been satisfied. So accordingly, the court finds that the complaint fails to establish a basis for federal jurisdiction. The complaint is thus dismissed without prejudice, and all pending motions are denied as moot. If the plaintiff wishes to file an amended complaint addressing the matters discussed in this order, it may do so by April 25th, 2005. Any amended complaint must be accompanied by the filing fee. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the second part of this. If anybody needs a further explanation of what I'm presenting, you can go ahead and raise your question now.
Islam.
Islam, go ahead.
Islam, praises and honors previously given. The document you requested is in your Facebook inbox, your messenger inbox.
Okay. Thank you, brother man. And I want to show you just so you can see how I got involved in this, because I was named in a countersuit by Rasadiel when he countersued. And because I was a member of Temple 21, he included me, Mr. Roger Brewington Bay, Temple 21, in the countersuit. This is how I got all the documentation and got made aware of what was going on in the court with what Braswell Bay did in his filing. All right. So I trust everybody got to see that. And okay, let me see. I'm going to bring up what Brother Easthill sent, which was a notice, and I was trying to find the document that I received from Brother Owens Bay out of Baltimore, who initiated the response to the Secretary of State Religious Corporation Division in Illinois. So I'm going to read this. This is something Braswell Bay submitted a document, and he utilized Owens Bay. And you all let me know when you can see it. Just doing this to show a history of incompetency of Braswell Bay and his actions. So let me know when you can see my screen in sharing this. Can everybody see this?
Yes, ma'am, I can see it.
All right, I'm gonna make it larger and then see if I can manipulate it. Not letting me manipulate it for some reason. Let's see, is this it? There we go.
We should be able to zoom in on it on our screen.
There we go. That should be better. All right, so this was published by R. Jones Bay and those who have taken over or are part of the lineage of the Ghost Corporation, Moorish Science Temple of America, the Civic Corporation. It says, take notice. Office of the Secretary of State, Jesse White, Secretary of State, September 15th, 2016.
It's on Brother Bruce Bay. That's when they put the actual Secretary of State letter inside of their Morris Guide.
Yes. January 8th, 2017. So you can see the date that the Secretary of State's office responded is September 15th, 2016. Okay.
How did they get involved with this?
That's what I'm explaining. So
Okay.
just hold on. So Braswell Bay attempted to take charge of the Civic Corporation, that Ghost Corporation, by submitting I think it was an 8-page document stating all of this jargon. And it was written by Brother R. Humane Owens Bay, out of Baltimore. He was never made an adept in our chamber and was not even a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America. He wasn't even actively participating in any temples that consider themselves Moorish Science Temple of America. So how Braswell Bay was able to connect with him to get him to submit a document as he did, and I have a copy of the document, I just have to locate it, is beyond me. But what they did was, on the general aspect, was they were requesting to change the Civic Corporation's address to the address that Braswell Bay had at 5001 South Wabash and the P.O. box number. So this is how the Secretary of State Corporate Division got involved, because they are the ones who control the civic corporations, not the religious corporations. Braswell Bay was trying to assume control of the civic corporation by just merely a change of address. Another level of incompetence. Okay. So it says, dear Mr. Braswell Bay and Mr. Owens Bay, in response to the documents you submitted to the Office of the Secretary of State for the State of Illinois on or about August 18th, 2016 in Springfield, Illinois, please be advised that this office is precluded from reaffirming and or validating your putative entity, nor can this office change the entity's street address and its officer in charge. As you may be aware, the Office of the Secretary of State has continuously recognized the Moorish Science Temple of America, Incorporated, since its incorporation as a not-for-profit corporation in the state of Illinois on November 29, 1926, corporate file number 19009726. The Office of the Secretary of State continues to recognize the Moorish Science Temple of America, Incorporated, or in MSTA, and its legal right to the sole use of the corporate name Moorish Science Temple of America. Pursuant to Section 104.05 of the General Not-for-Profit Corporation Act of 1986, the corporate name of a domestic corporation or a foreign corporation
Can't
organized
hear you, brother,
existed.
if you're talking.
We can hear. I can hear.
Okay.
The corporate name of a domestic corporation or of a foreign corporation organized, existed, or subject to the provisions of this act shall be distinguishable upon the records in the office of the Secretary of State from the name or assumed name of any domestic corporation or limited liability company organized under the Limited Liability Company Act, whether for profit or not for profit, existing under any act of this state, 805 ILCS 105, 104.05, emphasis added. According to your letter of August 18th, 2016, you claim that your entity was incorporated on November 29th, 1926. Further, you claim that this same entity subsequently amended its existing charter in 1928 pursuant to the Religious Corporation Act. Unfortunately, as stated above, the Office of the Secretary of State continues to recognize the Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, the original incorporation and or entity of that name, which was incorporated in 1926 and which has remained in continuous existence since that time. By statute, this office is precluded from recognizing any other entity that claims the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Obviously, there appears to be a disagreement as to what entity is rightfully entitled to the use of the name Moorish Science Temple of America. That is an issue that must be decided in the courts of the state of Illinois. Absent a court order to the contrary, this office cannot reaffirm or validate your entity. Respectfully, Terrence J. McConville, Assistant General Counsel. And then they sent a copy of this to the Cook County Recorder's Office and to the Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, the 1926 Ghost Incorporation. So this is how they were made aware of what was going on because of Braswell Bay trying to change the name of the head and change the address. That was his strategy. No matter, I don't know who came up with this, but he went along with it and is on record. This also coupled with the court blunder in 2005, where his incompetency showed, where he also named the Moorish Science Temple of America as a part of the federal government, as the fourth branch of the federal government. Okay. If I can find that document, I'll bring that up as well to show you that this is something that was a blight and still is a blight on his record because of the mindset that could cause that to happen, right? That you could step forward in a court of law and present us in such a false light that shows the high incompetency. Go ahead, Brother Eastil.
Islam, that court document is inside of our archive section, our file section.
If you can pull it up, let me know when you have it.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back to our agenda. Go back to our agenda. So the incompetence in court. The incompetence not just in court, but the incompetencies of state affairs, going to state offices and incorrectly representing the Moorish Science Temple of America and himself to put the Moorish Science Temple of America in the form of a pauper. Okay? To say that the Moorish Science Temple of America is too poor to afford litigation to defend itself. And so you were willing to be informal paupers, but also at pro se, which they said corporations can't do. Corporations cannot enter themselves pro se, and they cannot be represented. They cannot represent themselves. Okay. So I don't think I'm sharing the agenda. Let me share this agenda. I want everybody to be able to see it. All right. So the next thing is that we want to make sure that we highlight is the appointment as directors. Make sure I bring that up because these are important documents that we have to show actions that we took. Just want to line it up for everybody so they can see these are the actions that we took and why. Were you able to find that other document, Brother Eastil?
Yes, I'm going to post a link in your messenger.
Okay. All right. So just going through this timeline of events.
You should have it now.
Okay, I'll pull it up. All right, let me see. You sent it. And there it is. Okay, I think this is the one, I believe, that I just read from. Yes, that's the one I just read from. Okay. If I can find the other one, I'll post it because I want everybody to have a copy of that. All right, so now just a brief going into staying in the timeline. So back in late 2020, we were made aware of the indiscretions of the Supreme Council. And the indiscretion came out of a sister by the name of Melinda Jackson Ill bringing forth allegations that Braswell Bay was sexually harassing her, of which Braswell Bay has had a history of sisters bringing these complaints against him. This one was the first one that we were directly involved with, that we became directly aware of. And the sister shared text messages of Braswell Bay mentioning things about dreams, and he was standing in front of a home saying that this is what he wanted for her, and other things that she stated that Braswell Bay did, and especially the actions that he did at the convention against her in, I believe it was 2020, right, when he became very hostile towards her, and she feared for her own safety while she was there. And this was witnessed by other people that were there as well. Some of them are on this call. So, in light of those things that came out, in addition to the accusation of this sister breaking into an Airbnb, of which was proven to be incorrect, the sister had to begin to protect herself. And so because others had become involved in this allegation of breaking into an Airbnb, and they were attempting to take, the Moorish Science Temple of America was attempting to hold these members accountable for this action. Uh, she just determined that she had to do something to help protect those who she felt responsible for. And so she began to let us know these things that were going on under the auspices of the Moorish Science Temple of America. One of these was the improper occupation of 5001 South Wabash. Uh, she sent us a series of documents that shows the acceptance of money of the Moorish Science Temple of America and it being funneled to work under a nonprofit Christian entity called New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church. So we did some research, and at the help of a close family, uh, family, I was able to obtain documentation that showed first and foremost that 5001 South Wabash was placed under a permanent injunction, which I'm going to share that document again so that all can see. And we're going to keep this, see if I can enlarge this for those who may not be able to see it fully. All right. This is a copy from Cook County Recorder of Deeds, dates June 30th, 2016, 8:16 a.m., page 1 of 2, Karen A. Yarbrough. In the Municipal Court of Cook County, Illinois, Municipal Department, 1st District, the City of Chicago, a municipal corporation plaintiff versus New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church, et al., defendants. Agreed order of permanent injunction. This cause coming to be heard on the set call and on motion of plaintiff, the court having jurisdiction over the defendants and the subject matter and being fully advised in the premises, it is hereby ordered that the defendants, New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church, and his/her their, its agents, heirs, legatees, successors, and assigns shall be permanently enjoined and restrained from renting, using, leasing, or occupying the entire premises. You note there is nothing else written on here that gives them the ability to go in there to pray or do anything else. It says permanently enjoined and restrained from renting, using, leasing, or occupying the entire premises until the same have established full compliance with the municipal code of the city of Chicago as stated in this cause and further order of court. Defendants and his, her, their, its agents, heirs, legatees, successors, and assigns shall maintain the subject property in a sanitary, boarded, and secure condition while it remains subject to this injunction. The court reserves jurisdiction of this matter for the purposes of modification, enforcement, or termination of this injunction. The above named defendant and his, her, their, its agents, heirs, legatees, successors, and assigns shall put and keep the subject property in compliance with the vacant building requirements. Vacant building requirements in the Municipal Code of Chicago, sections 13-12-125 through section 13-12-150, including the requirements that the property be insured and registered with the city. Information at www.cityofchicago.org buildings, and keep the exterior of the premises clean and free of debris and weeds. Okay. Hearing date, June 10th, 2016, by the attorney for the plaintiff. And then Judge Simpkins is the one who I spoke with, who stated that anything that he would have stated in addition and given additional permissions would have been written on this order so that in light of the next time it comes to court, any other judge, when they hear this case, would see it and honor what was stated if it conflicted with anything else. And this just gives the lot size. So how did this come about? How did New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church come into the picture? Well, because of this right here. This is how New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church came into the picture of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Minutes of special meeting of shareholders, directors of New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church. Can everybody see this document?
Yes, sir.
It says the first meeting of the shareholders of New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church in Illinois nonprofit corporation was held at 5001 South Wabash in the city of Chicago, Illinois on January 5th, 2015 at the hour of 5:06 p.m. pursuant to call by the president. The following directors were present in person: Juanita L. Hester, Robin Lumpkin, David Hester. The secretary reported that all the directors, shareholders of the corporation were present in person, thus constituting a quorum. Resolved, pursuant to a vote by the current directors' officers, Juanita Hester shall be issued $15,000 in reimbursement and payment for her services rendered for the corporation. Further resolved, pursuant to a vote by the current directors' officers, in order to preserve and further the cause of the corporation, that an election of corporate officers and directors took place. Upon nomination and votes, the following persons were voted in as directors and officers of the corporation, commencing at the adjournment of this special meeting. President and Director, Brother Emmanuel Braswell Bay, G.S. Secretary and Director, Sister Patricia Newton-Eel, Sheikis. Treasurer and Director, Sister Diane O'Neill Bay, Sheikis. Further resolved that the annual report be amended with the Secretary of State to reflect the newly elected officers and directors of the corporation. There being no further other business to come before the meeting was adjourned. Juanita L. Hester, President. So at the close of this meeting, she stepped down as president and he stepped in as president, Emmanuel Braswell Bay. So this is how later, you saw this happen in 2015. This is how this came about, this court date, because once they assumed or were appointed as directors, then they had to represent New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church. And this is 2016. A little more, almost a year, right? See, what's the date of that? March, right? That's March when they were appointed. No, January. Almost a year later, over a year later, Year and a half later, they had to represent New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church in court, where the place was put under a permanent injunction. Okay. Any questions so far?
Islam.
Islam. Go ahead, Brother Breckenridge Bay.
Yes, sir. All praise and honor is previously given. I'm going to say it again. Praise Allah and honors to His Holy Divine Prophet Nabi Ali. Uh, just for clarity, for someone who may be thinking this was 2015, 2016. Now it's 2024. What updates are here when we say a permanent injunction and no one should be in the premises, and we know that there's still meetings being held there? What is the what is the reasoning for that? Why nothing has come about for that situation? That they're still meeting there.
What do you mean? What are you asking again?
This platform, we're going to be putting this video out for the public to see, to help bring clarity and light to what's going on. And someone may ask, well, this was in 2015, 2016, that they got this permanent injunction to not have meetings in the building. Now it's 2024, they're still meeting in the building. Why or how is that possible?
That's possible because you know as well, you live in Chicago, and you know that if there's no reports of them occupying this building, right? And you know that they keep very low profile around that building. There's no hanging out outside of that building when they have their meetings. They don't want anybody loitering around the entrances because they don't want to draw any attention to the occupancy of what's going on in that building, right? As long as it's a low profile and nobody that's in the city of Chicago knows that this building is under permanent injunction and that they shouldn't be occupying the building, or it shouldn't be that much activity in the building, then they're all right because they're not being a public nuisance or anything like that. So the only way that they could stop being utilizing that building is it has to be reported to the court, the court in which placed the permanent injunction on the facility on 5001 South Wabash.
Mm. Islam, I just wanted that to be just to kind of clarify and put an explanation out there. Maybe thinking that Islam.
Okay, so that would be the municipal department, first district for Cook County. Go ahead, Brother Johnson Bay.
I got a two-part question. First question is, what's so special? Why was he so adamant on acquiring this building?
Okay, so it's answered by the act. Why did he want to acquire the building? Okay, I'm sorry. I
What's the
can't answer that.
Okay.
I can't answer that. It wasn't feasible, for one thing. I think we all who have been around for years know that was not feasible, Brother Breckenridge Bay especially. It was unsafe, unsanitary. Uh, Everything that said anything about being in that building, for one, it was over 100 years old, right? We didn't have the finances really to get into that building and do what's needed for that building to be turned around. Look, they've been in almost 10 years and they still have not turned that building around. It's a money trap, right? So the reason why they chose that building, uh, I will say this one thing, all right? So in one of the Facebook message, now that you brought that up, one of the Facebook messages in the official Facebook group for the Morris Science Temple of America, those who were defending it, I believe it was Ruiz Eel and Rodney White Eel, they spoke about Braswell Bay attempting to get grant money, right? And because that building supposedly has a connection to the civil rights movement there in Chicago, they tried to get that building and get it named as an historical landmark so they can get grant money to maintain that building and further the development of that building, right? So that was one of the reasons of why uh wanted to obtain 5001 Wabash, right? Free money, free money. even though it kind of flies into the face of what the prophet taught about civil rights, right? So now you're going to benefit off of a civil rights building that we don't even really teach that pertains to us as Moorish Americans, right? That aspect of the civil rights movement is something that the prophet taught against when he talked about the fact that what? That the true citizen, it says that, and it is a sin for any group of people, I'm sorry, those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. So we know that this civil rights organization were clinging to Negro, Black, and colored. So why would they be attempting to garner money from a building that was dedicated to a civil rights cause that has its roots in Negro, Black, and colored, and furthering that understanding?
Islam. So, in the second part of my question, do you think this was will? Is it your belief? Do you think this was willful ignorance or just pure incompetence?
I keep telling you it's incompetence.
Mhm.
It's pure willful incompetence.
Islam. I yield.
Islam. Any
Islam.
other? Go ahead, brother. You still?
On that note, I found the other court record that you were talking about that is proof of a pattern, track record, and history of Braswell Bay's incompetence. When he
You want
went
to share it?
into, I just sent it to your inbox.
Okay. So give me a couple of seconds where I can look at that. And thank you again, brother Easteel, for finding that document. I tried to locate it. I could not locate it. I know I have it in my files. Let's see here.
One of the pages are upside down, I think.
That's all right. I could read upside down.
Okay, you're a talented brother.
All right. Thank you again, brother man. I'm going to share my screen. Everybody let me know when you can see it. All right. Everybody can see it?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to
Islam.
enlarge it. Okay. Here we go. This is just additional information, right? So we read that portion. And this is the part that the brother said was upside down. So I'm going to read it upside down. Let's see.
It's upside right now.
Upside right. All right. Let me get it upside right now. That was upside down, brother. Let's see. So this is the other portion of the issue. It says the amended complaint is dismissed for the reasons stated. So they filed an amended complaint and they had these additional writings in there. And they also had this person. If Michelle Thomas wishes to represent the plaintiff, she must file an appearance accompanied by a copy of her bar card and evidence showing that she is authorized to practice in this court. The clerk is directed to forward a copy of this order to the Cook County State Attorney's Office and Gary Shapiro, First Assistant United States Attorney, for such further action as they deem appropriate. The clerk is further directed to forward a copy of this order to the Michelle Thomas who practices at the Cook County Public Defender's Office for informational purposes only. So they may have been two Michelle Thomases, and somebody tried to utilize this person's name, but they did not have her bar number. So it says the court previously dismissed the plaintiff's complaint because a legal entity or corporation may not appear pro se or proceed in form of a pauper, or as a poor man. And in any event, the complaint failed to allege a basis for federal jurisdiction. The plaintiff has now filed an amended complaint bearing the name but not the signature of Michelle Thomas, who styles herself as an attorney. The original amended complaint does not bear Ms. Thomas's signature. It thus violates Rule 11, and is stricken. Even if the amended complaint had been signed, it still would have been stricken, as Ms. Thomas has not filed an appearance and thus may not appear before this court. See Local Rule 8312. It does not appear that Ms. Thomas can rectify these problems, as the court has found no record indicating that Ms. Thomas is a licensed attorney or a member of this court's bar. She thus appears to be engaged in the unauthorized practice of law in violation of 705 ILCS Section 2051. If Ms. Thomas wishes to represent the plaintiff in this action, she must file an appearance accompanied by a copy of her bar card and her certificate indicating that she is authorized to practice in the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois. And then it goes further. The court also notes that even if the amended complaint was properly before the court, it fails to cure the jurisdictional deficiencies identified in the court's first order. The amended complaint alleges that the plaintiff, the Moorish Science Temple of America, number one, a religious organization chartered in Chicago, is a branch of the federal government and thus is authorized to file suit under 28 U.S.C. This allegation directly conflicts with the basic constitutional principle of separation of church or religion and state and has no discernible basis in fact. The court directs Ms. Thomas's attention to Rule 11 and warns her that any further arguments along these lines may lead to the imposition of sanctions. And then they go back to her ability to practice law. Okay, so these are fatal flaws, fatal errors that Braswell Bay put forth in moving to stop Bailey Ill and Rossity Ill from using the name Moorish Science Temple of America and collecting funds or finance in the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So this is a timeline of events, if you will, right? Just a brief timeline of events to show that the level of incompetency that Braswell Bay has exuded for years now. And this is what we have documented proof of. We're not going off of hearsay or somebody else's feelings towards Braswell Bay. We are giving documented proof. We've had this proof to show this, okay? And so when we begin to deal with these things, go ahead, Brother Fuller Bay.
No, brother, just finish the thought. I just want to bring up one of the talking points from the other side and debunk that when time permits. That's all.
Okay. So this is showing, again, Braswell Bay's ineptitude and incompetency. He's been in office too long, 20-something years, and all he has to show is taking the Moorish Science Temple of America from one rat hole to the next, okay? And it's time out for that. We know, all of us were probably, if you weren't born in the temple, you were born probably in a Christian church, or even if you were born in Islam, al-Islam, in a mosque, that they may have been in a storefront starting out, but after 5, 10 years, they own their own building. They had their own land. Okay. So to have 24 years in office or more, 26 years, 27 years in office, and you're still going from one rat hole to a bigger rat hole, that's incompetence. Okay. So we have to be just as stringent in our criteria with those who were in leadership over us as we were of other leaders who were leading groups of Moors down the wrong path. Okay. So, Johnson Bay, you had something you want to offer real quick?
Yeah, just a quick question. So this what was done when he tried to change the name from the civic organization in that letter from the Secretary of State. Is that what the civic organization deemed as them claiming on to be the Moorish Science Temple of America? Is that the basis that they're standing on?
Yes. This is what they blow their trumpet off of. The fact that the council for the Illinois Secretary of State Corporation Division says they only recognize this entity as the Moorish Science Temple of America. Now, those of us who understand the law and the acts in the state, we realize that, yeah, because you're the holders and you only deal with civic corporations. So you're only going to recognize what you have on file, right? Now, it's up to us as the religious corporation to make sure that the Cook County or wherever county that our religious corporation paperwork has been incorporated is talking to the Secretary of State Corporation Division of Illinois to say, hey, we are a religious corporation at the county level. There should be no more filing for this particular entity known as the Moorish Science Temple of America as a civic corporation, because the last time this civic corporation operated was in May, when we determined to go over to a religious corporation. Now, there
Okay.
is record of Mealy Ill in 1929 early filing paperwork for the civic corporation. Why he did that, I'm not sure. If the prophet told him to do it, maybe it was to close out that corporate file. I am not sure. I'm not sure. But it doesn't change the fact that the religious corporation law says that it effectively was done away with by filing as a religious corporation. It effectively did away with the civic corporation of 1926. Nothing
So
changes it. Go ahead, brother.
so could I read that section of the Religious Corporation Act for those that probably wouldn't know, that saying that the Secretary of State supposed to have been respected that incorporation? I mean, because it
We
says it could.
we'll do that on another
Oh,
call. We'll do that
all
on
right. It's
another
on.
video conference.
It's
Okay.
on.
So
Yeah.
getting back to the timeline of events, right? So now we go from these particular incompetencies that were shown, right, to how we were made known and aware of it in late 2020. And when we finally got the documentation, which I think I have this documentation somewhere in my files. Let me see. We received documentation about, we received checks, we received work orders, contracts, right? Let me look at it. Okay, I got it right there. Try to pull all this up just so you all can see it. I'm going to scroll through it if you got time. All right, bear with me. I'm going to share it now. If I get back to my screen to share, please. Okay. And some of you may be aware of these documents. Let me see if I can share it real quick before it snatches the screen again. All right. All right. Can everybody see this document?
Zoom in a little bit, brother.
Hold on a second.
Everybody could be able to pinch the screen themselves. If you pinch your screen, you could zoom in yourself on whatever document he has on the screen.
All right. I'm trying to find the first page of this. I think this is a document. This is the video of the sister talking with the Airbnb. Bring it up. All right, here's one of them. Wait a
Brother
second. Hold
Brooks,
on. I'm
have you
trying to
gone
see.
into the details of the vacated offices document, or you saving that for later?
No, I haven't gone through that yet. We haven't got there yet. We're still going through the timeline to move up to that particular action. All right, I'm trying to make sure. I'm gonna cancel that. Okay, that's good. All right, I'm not sharing, am I?
No.
All right. It's hard to navigate this for some reason. to bring all these up to scroll through them like I normally had it. Trying to get to where the starting location is for this, so I can show you how we broke it down.
You pulling up a document or a website?
Now I'm pulling up the documents, the evidence file that we received.
Okay.
All right, let me see. It'd be good if they had thumbnails on this thing. We don't need that one. All right, so let me show this one document. Okay, so this shows a check. This shows a check, if you can see it. Moorish Science Temple of America, 355 East 51st Street. It's one of the old addresses, made out to Clifton Watson, July 17th, 2018. This is for $1,000, right? Braswell Bay, Patricia Newton Neal's signature for electrical work. Where? Where does that say? Electrical work where? Can y'all see that?
5001 South Wall.
Does everybody see that?
Yes, sir.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Y'all see that?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
This is
where Grant.
2018. But what happened in 2015? In 2016, what happened?
They were filing lawsuits.
No. That wasn't filing lawsuits. What happened? 2015,
Oh, yeah,
2016.
the injunctions, the permanent injunctions issued on the building.
It was at first they were appointed as directors, right? In 2015, January 2015, they were appointed as directors of New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church, which is located where?
At 5001 Wabash.
At 5001 South Wabash, right? Then in 2016, June 2016, there was a permanent injunction placed on this place, right? So now they're doing electric work. And one of the things that was said about this electric work was that it was the incorrect electric work because the wiring that was put in this building was using residential wiring and not commercial grade wiring, which is required for a building of that size and electric load that would be required to go through the current that would be required to go through those wires to power that building. Because of that, there's a greater risk of fire breaking out because of that building being overloaded. Okay, so everybody saw that, right? Okay, let me bring up the next document. This is making it hard to bring up these documents the way that this is. Let's see. Okay, let's bring this up. I don't have it. Okay, so I'm going to show you by this one. This is a proposed work order from the person whose name was on that check. And whose name was on that check? Who was it paid out to? Anybody remember whose name was on that check?
Was it Clifton Watson, right?
Clifton Watson. Who's this at the top here? Can everybody see that name?
Clifton Watson.
Clifton Watson.
Clifton Watson, 9100 South Ashley. Who's the proposal submitted to? The Moorish Science Temple of America, 5001 South Wabash Street. July 13th, 2018. Electrical work to include unisex bathroom, main ballroom area, outlets, main entrance hall, ceiling lighting, right? Estimated cost, $2,000. $1,000 to start the project, of which we just saw the check for that $1,000 to start it, right? Okay. And we know they accepted it because they submitted the check for that $1,000 paid out to Clifton Watson. just going through this briefly to show you. I want to get to the main point of this exercise on this particular one. We did this on the original broadcast that we did in 2021. So on this one, you see the continuation of the proposal, right? Brickwork made by who again? Clifton Watson at the top. Now, whose name is on here now?
New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church.
Can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church, 5001 South Wabash Steel. Work, repair, roof bricking, repair to the lintel, and repair gutters. $2,800. Everybody see that? Why was
Mm-hmm.
there a change? Why was there a change from the Moorish Science Temple of America doing this to now New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church is back paying for this? Why the change? Anybody know?
Because they had assumed that to become directors of New
Okay.
Gap Missionary, and they had to further the cause of that building and restore it because that's who owned the building, right?
New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church. What else? Nobody else? We talked about this before. Y'all should
Oh,
remember because somebody tipped them off. It's illegal for you to be accepting money in the name Moorish Science Temple of America and funnel that money to New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church to pay for these repairs for the building that you don't own,
mm.
that you can't show ownership of because you don't own it. So then they had to start using what? New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church.
But that's still the same thing, though, right?
What you mean the same thing?
I mean, if it was saying if somebody tipped them off saying that it was illegal for them to take money like that, but then you still take money from the Moorish Science Temple of America, but writing checks in the name of New Missionary Galilee, wasn't that the same thing?
It's the same thing, only in the fact that they were still accepting money, right? They were still accepting money from members of the Moorish Science Temple of America under the auspices that the Moorish Science Temple of America owned 5001 South Wabash, which we know the Moorish Science Temple of America never did own 5001 South Wabash. New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church owns 5001 South Wabash. So when we found out these improprieties and this embezzlement of finance in violation of the Prophet's general laws, we said we must notify the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America what's going on so that they can hold the heads of their temples accountable for participating in collecting money all across these states and where all the temples were and bringing it back to the Moorish Science Temple of America and the Moorish Science Temple of America Council illegally and improperly embezzling the money and using it because they were appointed as directors of New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church. We didn't know that. That was never broadcast at because that would have been unacceptable. Anybody on this call or on this conference call knew about that at that time? Anybody? Anybody knew that they had been appointed as directors of New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church at that time?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay.
No,
But
sir.
they said it was announced at several conventions. They must have had secret sessions because those who were in attendance stated, hey, I've never heard them bring this forward. Okay. So when we determined to bring this forward, had conversations with the Grand Sheik of then Temple 52, Brother Kenneth Carter Bay, let him know all of these things, sent him the information. He also knew about the sexual harassment charges or allegations because he too had an event at his temple where one of his sisters of his temple were propositioned by Braswell Bay to come visit him on their own to Chicago, to which she informed Brother Carter Bay, who was the then former Grand Sheik. I mean, he's the former Grand Sheik of Temple 52 under Braswell Bay. And we're going to get to the happenings that has occurred over the past year. When we brought this forward to them, they declined to take any action. We showed all of the things that happened. We showed this body of evidence. And he acknowledged to me that we were right in our assessment that it was wrong. All of that was wrong, right? But he wouldn't outwardly take any action. There was one outward action that he did take. There was one action that he did take, and that was to come on to our group, the official Facebook group for the Moorish Science Temple of America, January 13th, 2021. First time he ever posted in that group since he was a member of 2008, 2009. His first post, this is what he posted. I'm going to read his words so that everybody can see this. I'm not making this up. These are his words. This is what he stated at the insistence of Braswell Bay to speak out against this information that we brought forth to inform the grand body of the improprieties of that Supreme Council. Okay. Everybody can see this. K. Carter Bay, January 13th, 2021. This was after we put the information out in the Facebook group, and I made the announcement late 2020 that we were going to be putting the microscope on ourselves, the same way that we had done other bodies of Moors, that it was time for us to have that introspection, right? And that self-approbation. So once we put that information out about the improprieties of the Supreme Council and the grand body officials who support them, and those improprieties were the abandonment of the faith by becoming appointed as directors of a Christian church, being charged to further and preserve the cause of that Christian church. That constituted an act of the abandonment of the faith of Islam and the religion of Islamism as brought by Prophet Drew Ali. Failure to act in immoral conduct, right? These were allowing members of the Moorish Science Temple of America to place themselves in danger by occupying a building that was under a permanent injunction, collecting money across state lines, representing a what is that called? Annulment, right? Collecting money across state lines and embezzling money and finance from members of the Moorish Science Temple of America and funneling that money to New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church to repair a building that was owned by New Galilee Missionary Baptist Church. We let those things be known in addition to the sexual harassment. Brother Easter, you had something you want to say?
I believe it's called private annulment.
Private annulment. Okay.
Private annulment.
So you can look that up, private annulment, and you'll see what that, if somebody can bring that up and raise your hand when you have it, we can have that read so everybody can know what that private annulment means. But this is what Brother Braswell Bay influenced Brother Kenneth Carter Bay to state, even after he told me in many conversations in late 2020 that we were correct and that we should wait, right? So he told me, hey, after we had so many conversations about it, he said, you should wait because I got Braswell Bay to agree with what we wanted. He agreed to name an assistant grand sheik and to set members of the Supreme Council in April of 2021 at the leadership conference. He's going to do it. So just wait until that person is appointed, and then that person can bring those charges forward, and then Braswell Bay can be removed, and that assistant grand sheik will then become the new supreme grand sheik of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and it won't cause a split in the grand body because he feared that the grand body would be split by the actions that we were taking if he and others signed on to it.